Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Peacekeeping Task Force Strategy Task Force Session 18 for our Peacekeepers Execution Planning Session 2. So in the chat, I just put the beginning documents that we're going to go over here today. Any of the other documents that I'm going to go over and touch on, I will attach it to the replay because there's so many. I don't want you to be bombarded with it in the chat. So my name is Louise Campbell-Anthony. I'm the affiliate director here with the Peacekeeping Task Force, and we are in session 2 of our execution planning for our peacekeepers. So if you're new, so how this is going right now, as we're planning the American Government Resurgence Project, planning to execute it now, we're on alternating Sundays, where this Sunday is for phase 3 of the project with the peacekeepers and how we're going to execute our part. And then the next Sunday will be for the assemblies, the county and state assemblies, model county specifically, where they're coming together to execute phases 1, 1A, and 2 of the project, where we're going to launch the postcard campaigns and the county tours throughout the states. So the county assemblies are going to assist with that by scheduling and planning the tours throughout their counties to bring up the United States construction of that national soil government. And then we got the international state assemblies doing their part to do their do tours as well in collaboration with the county assemblies to get the counties standing. So that's how the alternation is going. And we meet every 2 weeks. So every other Sunday is when we meet. And on the Sunday that we're not meeting, I send out an interim report for everybody to comment on and give more input about the strategies that we are planning, any inspirations you might have, any critiques you might have, any other angles you might think of. That's what we do on the off weeks. So that just to give you an overview of how these sessions are going. So today is Sunday, June 29, 2025. So you'll see what our primary focus is, has always been here with the Strategy Task Force. What this task force was put together to do is to strategize on how to bring forth the directives that our fiduciary has made already of our federal employees, of their state franchises, the government corporations, the agencies, and the banks. We will formalize a plan of action to get full cooperation and/or capitulation to transfer the governance of each state into the hands of the state assemblies and into the hands of the county assemblies. Our focus is on the counties where the state capital is located, where the physical location of the state capital is located. The Strategy Task Force plans to execute the strategy in that particular county. Primarily, that would be our focus, but the remaining counties will also be facilitated by the respective state assemblies. So that has been our focus here with the Strategy Task Force, and we're just about ready to put our boots on the ground to get this thing executed. I want to take the time to acknowledge the international state assemblies that's participating, that may be here today, any model counties assemblies that are participating and may be here today, and anybody that's from an assembly that has not let me know that they wanted to participate and may need some assistance with getting the papers, materials customized to your assembly. Put your name in the chat and the assembly you're from, your email address, and I can contact you. Any county assemblies who want to take on the task of doing the county tours and reconstructing the United States national soil government. If you want to be that model county to spearhead that in your state, go ahead and put your name in the chat and your email address, and I can contact you on the follow through with that. So, and I welcome all your state assemblies and your county assemblies who may be here today. So the first thing I want to bring attention to here this is the outline that we're going to be going through. The first thing I'm bringing your attention to is here on the BitChute channel. The Peacekeeping Task Force Directorate actually did a interview with Tammy Healy, who's been interviewing all the state assemblies. So this is our interview here just for your FYI. If you want to go there and take a look, at our interview with Tammy, and any state assemblies, any county assemblies who want to have that first interview to introduce your government to the world, that's what the platform is for. So contact Tammy. If you need her contact information, I can put it there in the chat or send it with the replay. So your assembly can contact her and let her know that you want to do that first interview or a follow-up interview if you've already done the first one, to give an update on how your assembly is doing. So let's get into what the Peacekeepers are going to move forward with here today. So first, I'm just going to review and bring your attention to the first thing, the first execution planning session, number 1, that we went over last month. This is the detail of that execution planning session. We talked about the deployment of phase 3 with our securing the capital strategy. Here in the middle is what the Peacekeepers, the PKTF Assembly Liaisons, the Assembly Militia Commanders, the County Sheriffs, the Continental Marshals. They are the ones who are going to spearhead the security capital strategy and the transference of governance to the state assemblies. So this is what we had first started with. This is our first strategy session. And go ahead and take a look at this, review this, of all the things that we went over then. Is what everybody needs to know as we're preparing, the things you need to know, what the end goal is, know what the situation is as far as our contracts, know what our contractual obligations and parties are, Trump, the Dakota Sioux Nation, all of this. Know what your role is going to be in the execution phase, and the execution stages of phase 3. So go over this if you haven't, if you wasn't here on the last session. We're going to build off of this knowledge here to our next planning session execution for session 2. So let's delve into session 2. This is the new one for today that I want to focus our attention on. So the links here at the top will go to any of the materials that we have talked about, the reference guide that the liaisons, the county sheriffs will have as they're talking to the counterparts out there in the field. So those links right there talk about the different components to the reference guide. And the reference guide is this right here. Let me see if I can go ahead and show it to you. This is the Peacekeeping Task Force reference guide that we have for you all to take to the to your encounters, your visits, your sit-down meetings with the de facto. This is one of the things you'll have in hand to be able to explain all the different components that they need to understand and know as the American government is actually coming back on stage. We'll go into this a little bit more in a little bit. Okay, so we have that's what the PKTF reference guide is that I'm referring to here. The Peacekeepers Execution Planning 1 was this document here that I just showed you. That's the link to go to find out what we talked about, the breakdown of how that's going to be executed. And this one here, the American government chart, I'm going to talk about that here today. And this is a link for you to go and see us discuss how we're going to be using the American government chart. And then the icedrive.net, this is the link that your assemblies can go to download all of the documents that I'm talking about that will be used in the phase 1, phase 1A, phase 2, phase 3. The Peacekeepers have their own folder. So this icedrive link goes here. And in here, this is the International Outreach Think Tanks database of where they put all their outreach information, who I work with developing the project. That's who has been assisting me in fine-tuning it. So they have this database here, and you'll see right here this folder that says the American Government Resurgence Project. When you click on that, it will have all the downloadables and editable documents here. And there is one section for Peacekeepers. All of your documents is going to go in this folder here. All right, so let your assemblies know all this information is going to be right there for them to download. Launch is set for July 1st or anytime in July, we're going to launch the project then in different phases. Phase 1, 1A, 2 is going to launch July 1st. Phase 3 with the Peacekeepers is going to launch a little bit later because we're not launching at the same time they are. So when phase 1, 1A, 2 launches on July 1st, this website here, let me see, where is it? This website here is what will be live. Right now, I got a few little things left to do. I got this screen black for a reason, so you'll know it's not ready yet. But July 1st, the video will be there and everything will be ready for traffic. Okay. So that's our schedule right now for launch. So let me go over the presentation here for the Peacekeepers on what I think, how we should start thinking of deploying and executing our next steps. Yes, Emalee?
I hate to do this to you just now, but maybe it's not as important as I think it is. Are we not wanting to do a bond audit for acceptance of all of the oaths and bonds for all of these public officials?
So write that down, Emalee.
Okay.
So what you're gonna
I just am catching up now, so I'm, like my whole project, I guess, should have probably run before or concurrently, but that's okay though. We're there, so it's just some more papers.
So like Emalee just brought up that idea there, which you brought it up before. So what I'm presenting here is what I'm envisioning the Peacekeepers to do to execute the project. Now, if you have other ideas, like Emalee has other ideas that you want to add to this, that you think is effective as well, you're going to have an opportunity to say all that after I finish.
Okay, thank you, my dear.
I just want to make sure you guys are protected. Anybody, especially you Peacekeepers who's on the ground already, you all know how the communication goes with the de facto out there in the field already. So you might think, hey, we should add this, or we should go at it this way. So I'm leaning on you Peacekeepers who's already out there in the field, who know how to communicate with your counterparts. That's not my bailiwick. I'm not a, that type of a peacekeeper in the sheriff and all that. So your expertise is what we need in that respect. So as you're listening to what I'm saying for us to do to execute the plan, you write down any of the ideas you might have to add to it or to say how we should do it. Okay. So the first part we're going to go over here is the Peacekeepers themselves. And when I say the Peacekeepers, I'm meaning the county sheriffs, continental marshals, militia commanders, PKTF liaisons, those the Peacekeepers that's in American government. You're going to deliver the message of the American government's resurgence. That's what you're going to deliver. So how are we going to do it? So first, like I said in our mission, we're going to start in the counties that have county sheriffs and giving priority to the county where the state capital and the governor office is. And the strategic reason we did that, or I designed it that way, is because the governor is the head of their corporate head. So if we can get capitulation from the corporate head and have them send down orders to the subordinates, it makes our job that much easier. So that's why I wanted to start in the capital that had the governor's office in it. These county assemblies will need to organize and stand up their juror assemblies as well, those particular counties that have the governor's office in it. But if it's not feasible for the liaisons to start in that particular capital, you're going to start in the county where you actually live. That's the easiest. If you can't actually get to that governor's state capital county, we're just going to start where you can start. For security measures, when you all are preparing to get out there, I'm thinking you need to plan your sit-down meetings or your visits to the de facto counterparts in pairs for security reasons. Means go with a partner. So the PKTF liaisons and militia commanders can go together. You're the first line to be deployed, where you are going to be focused on delivering all the education, delivering the information, about our resurgence, our government structure, what it is, what our public laws are, all these types of things. And then the first or second line of deployment would be the county sheriffs and the deputy sheriffs. They would go in pairs. And what you're going to be doing is focusing on American common law, focusing on the public law, the 3 laws, what the penalties are for violating the 3 laws, for violating the constitutional guarantees of the living people. And then the living people will be sending you their complaints of injuries that they're suffering because the people are not upholding the public law. So the county sheriffs will be educating our county sheriffs be educating their county sheriffs what they need to be doing when they run across the American State Nationals. Third line of defense would be the Continental Marshals and the Deputy Continental Marshals. They're international, so they're going to be dealing with the corporations and the corporate officers and their violations and educating them and taking names. Because I know we don't have jails and everything like that set up right now, and our drill assemblies aren't exactly set up in every state and every county, but we at least can start taking names of the violations that people are experiencing to let the de facto know we are serious and we are going to take care of business. The second thing for security measures is to look the part, dress in official attire. When you schedule your meetings, I know the PKTF liaison have their business attire, then they have their common access badge. The thing that and the blue links is where you can click on that and it'll go to different websites that have this information about the common access badge and the radios. Now, on this document where you see that it's darkened, bolded, these bolded underlining words are the things in hand that you're going to have when you go in the field. You're going to have in hand your common access badge. You're going to have in hand your radios for security. You're going to have them on and communicating while you're in the field. If you don't have your radio, if your assembly don't have your radios, you got to go to that website and see what you need to do to get ready and get access to one of those. The American State Nationals and the state citizens, you're going to have your credential cards or your common access badge, whichever position you're in. It depends on whatever office you're holding. And as a state citizen, it would be good to have the proof that you are an elected officer for the American government. So whether it's if it's posted in the newspaper or if it's posted on your government website, then that's what you'll be able to show. But I believe I've heard one of the peacekeepers say, one of the county sheriffs say, it was effective for them to have the newspaper clipping where it was published in the newspaper that they were elected to a public office. So that would be best, to have the clipping in your hand to show. Third thing, measure for security measure, is record the encounters that you're having, the sit-down conversations, the sit-down meetings and conversations that you're having, record it with audio or pictures or write notes while you're there. And then I would like to have a reporting of what those encounters have been through these within 3 days. I'm saying 3 days so you don't forget what happened. And I know I'm putting some more work on your plate as well as my plate, but this is how we're going to measure how effective we're doing with the activities that we're doing. We have to be able to measure it some type of way. So this is my way of getting administratively looking at it and analyzing, is this working? Because I can look at it across the board, not just, you can look at it, what you're doing on the ground in your county or right then and there. But if I have everybody sending me their reports, I can look at it at all states. So me and Boyd can take a look at those things and say, hey, this looks like this is working good. So maybe we'll tell the other assemblies to do it this way, that type of thing. That's why I would like to have these reports within 3 days so we can tweak and navigate, pivot as we need to as we go. Yes, Annette?
Thank you. So if when we're in this meeting, we would need to stress that we're recording them, or at least ask for permission to record them so that they have a choice. Am I correct? Or so that we would know to do written if they say no? Or do
Yeah.
they have, or can they say no? Because they're a public official, sorta.
I would say ask the people in your state, because I know all states are not the same. Some states you can record without even telling people. So I don't know if you have to ask them or not. It's always safe to ask first. But some states you don't have to ask.
Thank you. I appreciate that response. Thank you.
All right, so those are security measures that I could think of, and you might can think of some more, because you, as peacekeepers, you're out there on the field, and you know how you need to protect yourself. So the next thing someone had to mention, DUNS numbers of the corporations. It's effective to have evidence in hand of the fact that they are a commercial corporation. So when you're talking to them about how they are commercial corporations, you can prove it by showing them their DUNS number. So research that, pull it down off the internet, and have that in hand. Who the peacekeepers are going to see. Now, these are the people that I have identified as the significant people to go see. I have identified the state governor, the state attorney general, the secretary of state, the state police, the county sheriff, and the city police. Now, why those people? In my mind, like I said earlier, we start with the head of the corporations, get their capitulation to send down those orders to all those subordinates, even to the counties and to the townships. We can get that much done faster. So that's why I chose the state governor, the state attorney general, and the secretary of state. Because I'm thinking are the heads of the state themselves. I don't know if any other office is the head, but I chose all the divisions of law enforcement, the state division, which is the state police, the county division, which is the county sheriff, and the city or municipal, which is the city police. They all need to have a visit. So in this area, the PKTF liaisons and the militia commanders would be the first one to make the visit. They would educate them with the PKTF reference guide and American government structure chart. We talked about the reference guide, and this is the reference guide and the structure chart. If y'all remember, the structure chart is, where is it at? This one here. Now, there's going to be another version of this that's more simplified. This one is more detailed, but we have Joey working on his version, which is really nice. It's really picturesque like this. So these two documents, you're going to learn to present the information like a Granabites is what Joe said. Present it like a Granabites presentation. So I know with our liaisons, we're going to want them to learn how to present these two documents on their visits. And these are the two documents that you will have. This one will be a 2-pager. This will be on one side, that more detailed side. And then the other side would be the more picturesque side, with the pictures and less detail, but highlight the significant points. So those are the two documents that you're going to have as you go to your first line to educate them and inform them. So you're going to, at this meeting, and it may take more than one meeting, like we said, it may take 1 or 2 meetings to get out all the information that they need to know. You're going to inform them of the 3 public laws. Now, in your hand, you're going to have the 3 public laws that your assembly passed. Now, every assembly have the public laws with their signature on the bottom. So get that from your assembly. There's 3 of them. Now, and those 3 public laws, I thought that they need declarations to enact them. And the reason I came up with the idea of declarations to enact them is because I'm thinking of in the territorial admiralty jurisdictions, those commercial codes and private administrative law, they have an enactment clause for every law that they create. So I was thinking, well, in our American government, we need to enact the laws that we pass some type of way. I'm just thinking it's a declaration that does that. We've passed 3 public laws and they're on the books, but how do we enact them on the land? I would think that the state assembly, now that they've passed the law, they would declare that it is law to the public. Let them know. That's why I created this declaration of law on the land for the Federal Reserve notes and one for the birth registrations. This is just a template that I came up with, thinking of what would be the significant parts that could be in a declaration. That's how I came up with this. But what has to happen is your assembly would need to create its own declaration. They can use this as a template, which I was providing just as a template, but they could use it as a template and create their own declaration to declare that that public law is in force and effect on America's soil. And it needs to be followed. I put background information and stuff in here, penalty, amnesty, that type of thing. When a law is enacted, there's also, as enacting it to make it effective, there's also penalties that go with it. So when you don't follow this law, then what is the penalty? That's what made me come up with the last one, the criminal information notice of liability, is when you don't follow these 3 public laws, then these are the penalties. Now, at the same time, I gave information in this particular document as background to let people know how our particular public law is in alignment with actually their administrative laws too. They just haven't been following them. They've been enforcing them on everyone as a U.S. citizen. So now that we're coming in and making that distinction, this is a U.S. citizen, this one is an American state national. Now you enforce your laws on this U.S. citizen and not on this American state national. That's what we're going to have to try to do with the criminal information notice, to let them know that there's a jurisdiction line. And when you cross over the jurisdiction line, then you're criminally liable. And even on top of that, even when they don't cross over the jurisdiction line, some of those laws that they have is unlawful. So the state assembly may want to address that as well. So in this criminal information notice, I was putting in their laws and our research that shows them that we're not talking like out the side of our neck. This is the same laws you've got. And we're just bringing it forth. Now that the Americans are back, we can enforce the jurisdictional lines now. So the state assemblies would have to create their own criminal information penalty document to go with their declarations, so that, and it could all be in one document. This is just how I was envisioning it as the ideas was coming. So they would have to create what the penalty is for people not following the public laws. And what is the public law? The basic public law is, one, there is no, here, let me go, I wrote it down here. What does the public law say? There is no 14th Amendment federal citizen by birth. It doesn't exist on our land and soil. So, which means there is no U.S. citizen if you're not employed and getting a paycheck. That's what our public law says. So the de facto needs to record their state national political status. And mind you, listen to that. All these Americans who are U.S. citizens, they're also Americans. So they do need to record their status if they want to claim to be American. if they want to claim to be foreign and stay in a foreign status, which they can, if they're employed, then I would think they need to register with FARA. I think that's what the requirement was for foreign citizens that were left here to provide essential services. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were supposed to register with FARA. So if you don't want to reclaim your American birthright and stay foreign, a British subject, which they have a right to do, then they will need to register with FARA. And you see how I got it bolded and underlined? You need to have in hand to show the FARA registration form to show them what they have to fill out, because they won't know. So you are there to educate them about this. There is no 14th Amendment citizen, so you either going to have to voluntarily state that you're a British subject, and if you are, fill out this FARA, and if you want to reclaim your American birthright status, then you need to correct your political status, and this is what you do. That is what our public law is. The other thing about the Federal Reserve notes, the Federal Reserve notes are evidence of credit theft, and they should be taken out of circulation. And that's what our fiduciary has demanded, that they be taken out of circulation. So that's what we have to tell them. Take the Federal Reserve notes are credit theft, and they're going to be taken out of circulation. And all declared Americans, the declared Americans, can claim back their credit by opening up their prosperity accounts. That's how we have set it up. You claim back your credit by opening up your prosperity account, and that's what you tell them. So the Federal Reserve notes are evidence of credit theft, and that you are complicit with it if you don't make a statement that you're not. So these two documents, or these three documents, the state assemblies and the county assemblies are going to use these three documents in their county tours to inform the American public of the same thing that the peacekeepers are informing the de facto counterparts of. They're going to be informing the American public that you're not, the only way you can be a U.S. citizen is that you're employed. If you're not employed and getting a paycheck, then you have to declare your political status as an American. But if you choose not to, then you're just an accomplice to the crime. And then you have your criminal information. I know this sounds kind of draconian, but that's what the public law says. If you don't declare your birthright status as American, and you're claiming to be a U.S. citizen and you're not employed, then you are an accomplice to human trafficking, because there is no other way to be a U.S. citizen, because there is no U.S. citizen by birth in America. And that's what the county assemblies are going to have to deliver the message to the American people, that that's what the public law says. So the American people will have to write up their testimonies or their affidavits to attach to the criminal information notice and the declaration to state that I'm not an accomplice, and this is what we call the teeth in the whole American Government Resurgence Project. The teeth is the American public standing up and self-governing and letting the de facto know that I'm no longer going to be a part of the fraud. I'm no longer going to be a part of the perpetration of human trafficking. Now that I know, I'm no longer going to be a part of it. So they're going to do their part to self-govern and put the pressure on the state governor, on the Secretary of State, on the state police and the county sheriffs. Their documents are going to put the pressure on these people while the liaisons and the county sheriffs are meeting with them. So that's how that interaction, that synergy is going to happen. That's how I'm envisioning it to happen. The assemblies are out there getting the American public to self-govern and to send these documents to the county sheriffs, the state governors and all that, while you're speaking with the county sheriffs and the state governor, knowing that the assemblies are having the people send these notices to them. So that gives you more authority, more legitimacy when you're talking to them, because there's a backing behind you that's sitting on their desk and that's written from the American public. That's how I'm envisioning this going. So the other thing you're going to inform them of is you're going to provide them with a peace flag and direct them to raise it on the government buildings and retire Old Glory in adherence to our International Peace Proclamation and Declaration of Flag. Yes, Annette?
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is that what we were just before we went to the flag part? Is that in reference also to the 2013 notice that Anna put out to all the judges, esquires, and lawyers that are done with the private registry of the bar that they needed to go back to Europe?
That's another document that you can use as you're explaining this to them.
Okay.
And so we're bringing forth all the things that the fiduciary has already done. She's already told them these things. So yes, you can bring those. We talked about those documents in the last meeting. Let me see if I can find it. Because it was one of those.
So since they knowingly and willingly chose not to abide by that declaration or do the FARA, they are actually treasonous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And that's talked about in one of the implementation guides. So each phase has an implementation guide that goes into detail of why the pieces of the execution was put into the strategy. So I think it's the implementation guide for, let me see if I can find one. For phase 3, let me see. This one is phase 3. But I think the implementation guide that talked about treason is in phase 2. So phase 2 is the one for the state assemblies. And I can attach it to the replay, but it has a section in phase 2 implementation guide that talks about the treason that they will be guilty of. And you could use you can use that vernacular language as you're talking to them about what the penalties will be. So we do talk about that also in what the penalties would be. So the state assemblies in their criminal information, or however they want to call it, would have to lay out what the penalty is. So if it's treason, say that it's treason and say what the penalty will be for treason. That's what the county sheriffs and the continental marshals need to know when it comes to investigation and letting the violators know what's going to happen to them. That's what a government would do. So yeah. The next thing that the first line is going to be explaining is about the peace flag. And you see it's underlined. So I suggest to purchase a peace flag that goes on a pole, the big one, and have it in hand when you go tell them and direct them that we have declared peace on the land and the Old Glory must be retired and the peace flag needs to be raised. The International Peace Proclamation will be in your hand, so make sure you know what that proclamation says and how to explain it to them. The other thing you're going to be directing them to do is place a billboard on their billboard in their courtyards. They always have billboards somewhere. Correct your political status, contact your nearest local American state assembly. I have it underlined. If you want to take the initiative and deliver them a billboard, and why I'm saying these things of delivering it and have it in hand is I'm removing any those apprehensions, trying to remove those apprehensions of why we can't do that. So your assembly, purchase a billboard or find out what billboard is in the courtyard of whatever government building you're going to visit. See how much it costs to put something on it, however you want to go about doing it. But outside, there should be a sign, correct your political status. And then inside the building, the PKTF reference guide is a poster. That's how it's going to be printed. They will be able to post it inside their buildings. And on that reference guide, it has correct your political status from your assembly. So these will be, this document here will be customized to your assembly. And you're going to be asking and requiring that the particular government entity will post this on their walls and in their publications, a little ad blurb of public notice, correct your political status, in their publications as well. Those are the 4 things. The first line is going to their purpose is going to be accomplish these 4 things. Get this information across to them. The county sheriffs, I'd imagine that the county sheriffs and the deputies will go see the county sheriffs and the police and the city police, with maybe a liaison or with their deputy. And you all would accomplish the same 4 things. Now, when you go see the Secretary of State, there's an additional thing we should address the Secretary of State with. The driver's license is an important issue that's plaguing the American State Nationals. And not only the American State Nationals, everybody that's not even declared, because they're violating what their own laws are. So this was my idea with the Secretary of State. Yes, Annette?
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting all the time. So we had all over TikTok today, I had a whole bunch of people send me that the driver's licenses are now gone except for commercial. Can we obtain something a little more professional or a little more official to enforce that as well, or to be able to show that on our assemblies?
Well, so you're saying that the driver's licenses are gone. So who knows that? Who said that? And what do they have as evidence of that?
So we have some TikTok and we have some local news channels talking about it, that it's gone as of they're suggesting today,
Okay. Well,
but only for non-commercial.
yeah, that's what they should be, gone for non-commercial. So you, if you can find any verifiable information about that, yeah. So, but here, if you go visit your Secretary of State, that's who you go to find out. Get him on the line, say, ask him, is it gone? You know, go to who, they're the ones that would know.
Okay, I will reach out and do that. Thank you very much for the suggestion.
Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, so what I was saying, if they're not gone, and even if they're gone, we'd have to know how to make sure it's brought forth. So what is the process to bring it forth so that every person who have a vehicle, a car, can have that notice on their car, don't stop me because I'm not a commercial vehicle. So whatever that process is, we'd have to find out if they have already instituted a process like that. But if they haven't, this is one idea that one of the nationals had, is get a, I call it a Z sticker, but it's not a Z sticker. It's just a sticker that you would put in lieu of a registration sticker. So instead of a registration sticker, have the Secretary of State provide a quote unquote Z sticker to put on your license plates where the registration little sticker should go, to identify that this is a non-commercial car conveyance, private conveyance. Because that's what we need them to do, so that they don't stop us thinking that we are driving in commerce. And I have it underlined so that you can take with you an example of, this is what the sticker is, this is what it looks like, that we're requiring, or you can make your own. So however that communication needs to go with that corporation, the Secretary of State, you just need to know what it is we're trying to accomplish and negotiate with them how we're going to get it done. Because it's not negotiable in the sense that they're going to tell you no. That's not what we're negotiating. We're negotiating on, this is what needs to happen. How can we work together to get it done? That's what you're negotiating on. Non-commercial travelers will provide some form of identification and will no longer be forced into commercial contracts to obtain driver licenses. That is the conversation that you're having with the Secretary of State, in addition to the other 4 things that we talked about before.
Hey, Louise,
Mhm.
before you go on to that next one, what is, I understand non-commercial private conveyance, it says, and for theft investigation purposes. What's that exactly?
So I remember Richard bringing this up in one of his researches. So in Illinois, there is a law that says that you don't have to sign up to have a driver's license if you don't want to be part of the theft investigation database, whatever. And what that means is they want to be able to identify your car. If there's a theft, you report that it's been stolen, they need a way to identify it. So they use registrations and stuff like that. They're claiming that's what it's for. That's all that registrations and stuff is for them to be able to identify your car in case there's a theft. We'll be able to return it back to you. So that's why I have it there. And I think if your car gets stolen, yeah, we want them to help us get it back. So we can use the sticker as identification of our non-commercial vehicle in their database, so they'll be able to identify it if it gets stolen and return it back to us. That's what that was referring to. Okay, so this is another visit I think the peacekeepers need to make, and that's to the county recorder's offices. And we all know why we need to go educate them, but we're going to get into it here. So you're going to educate them on the same thing. So we got the reference guide and we got the American government chart. And I'm saying the recorder because they're the ones who are responsible for recording public records. Now, I know they have to answer to the people because the U.S. citizens who voted for them. So I'm not sure how much, who else we might have to talk to get the recorder to do what it is that we're requiring him to do. But specifically, we have to talk to recorder anyway. So you're going to educate them on what the reference guide, all the details about the information on the reference guide and all the details about what the American government structure is. And what we're requiring of them is to provide access to Americans to file their status correction documents in the local county recorder's office. Now, you remember that a while ago, Anna talks about how they stopped us from recording these documents in the recording offices. Well, those are our recording offices, aren't they? So we should be able to record documents in our recording office. So our purpose of visiting them is to get them to allow for Americans to now start recording in the local county recorder's office. And then record the land patents in the local county recorder's office so that they can remove their properties out of the state trust, the de facto state trust. And on top of that, I also want to be clear with them that they need to create a database, a land recording database, as opposed to a title system. Now, we know that the title system is for British territorial subjects who are here, who can't own property, that whatever property they have is to be held by their title system and their British system while they're in here. So that's the purpose of them having a title system if they want to legitimize why they have one. But like everything else, they've imposed it upon everybody, Americans alike, because all of us are considered British subjects. So we need to make it clear to them that we need them to create a separate side. How we're going to negotiate that, I don't know. We're not negotiating on whether they're going to do it or not. We're just going to negotiate on how it's going to get done. They need to create a separate side where they're taking out the properties that can be identified belonging to Americans out of the title system database and put it in the land recording database. So however it's easiest for them to do and create that. Those are 4 things that we need to talk about to the county recorders. Now, the other interesting thing in G is the fact that I've already mentioned that all these employed government people are also Americans. So you're going to deliver to them the information about how to correct your political status and how to self-govern. Now, in the American Government Researchers Project, there's 3 brochures. There's the why do you need to correct your political status? And there's what does political status mean? You're going to give these to them so they can be educated on what a political status is. Now, there's a 3rd brochure that I started working on, but I think I'm going to leave it to the state assemblies and the county assemblies to finish it. This brochure, these 2 brochures here that has the Federation seal on them have already been approved by Anna. This 3rd one that I'm working on is not going to be a Federation one. So it won't need to go through her approval. It will come from your state assembly. The purpose of this 3rd one, I called it 9 steps Americans need to take to self-govern. You can call it anything you like. This is just a template to give you an idea of what I was thinking. We need to tell the American public when we're having our county tours and having our public meetings, the things that the steps they need to go through to make it clear of how they become American, how they act like an American. The first step is declare yourself as an American. The second step, I say, is cancel your voters registration. The 3rd step, assemble your townspeople. 4th step, declare your self-governance as an American town. So the last level to self-governance, and actually it's the 1st level, but because we're coming out from the state down to the county, then to the towns, the last level of self-governance is the American town that is missing. That I figured out that we have another level that needs to be created and reconstructed called the American town. We have a township, but no town. The township is British territorial. The grassroots level people need to know that one step of self-governance is to organize and assemble the townspeople as an American town and declare themselves as such. That was my number 4. Number 5, take back your land and postal areas. That's when I talked about your titles, not titles, but your ownership of your land. Number 6, elect your public officials, American public officials. They need to know how does an American election go. So that's one of the things that they need to understand and be able to be ready for. And how it's different than going to the polls that they go to now for townships and state estates. You're going to have, this section is to tell them how that's different and how they need to elect their own Americans to self-govern ourselves at every level, federal, state, and county and town. Direct your public service employees. So this is where the Americans need to know that there are subcontracted governmental service providers. That's what those townships are and those state of states, British territorials are, even though they shouldn't even be here, but I'm not going to get to that. I'm not talking about that right now, but they are there. So while we're in transition, how are we going to relate to them? So we need to direct them what we need them to do. And this is the section for directing your service employees, we need to tell them, tell the American people to understand how we need to communicate with them. Now, but we have public service employees that are subcontracted, and then you have public service employees that are American. Explain to them what that is and how that affects them in their daily lives. Step 8, I have perform your self-governing duties. When you declare yourself an American, you have a duty to be a juror. You have a duty to be on the militia. You have a duty to report crime. You have a duty to self-govern and keep the peace, obey the public law. That's that section. And then the last section I have here for step 9, stay on watch. So never, ever again, let the government run on autopilot. You have to watch your public officials, American alike. No government should be left unattended. That's what that section was for. So these are the 9 steps that I thought of that you could tell to the American people at your public meetings and put it into a brochure so that you can leave it with them to let them know the steps they need to take right now that they've declared themselves an American. Those brochures are the 3 that I've come up with that you can hand to those public officials, British territorial municipal public officials that you are going to have a meeting with. Leave it with them because they have to take that step too. When you're talking to them, know that these people are American. They just don't know what has happened. So they also are being invited to declare themselves as an American. That's the conversation you need to leave with them before once it's all said and done. Those are the action steps for our peacekeepers that I'm thinking of. Now, while the peacekeepers are doing that, I have a section down here where the state assemblies and the county assemblies are doing their parts. And as I'm delivering this and presenting this to you, I want you to see in your mind how the peacekeepers are doing something, the state assemblies are doing something, the county assemblies are doing something, and how everything that everybody is doing is energizing the common end goal. We're trying to get to an end goal, and we're attacking it from all different angles. The state assemblies in the international jurisdiction, they deal with the corporations and the persons, capital P or small p. That's who they deal with. So we need the state assemblies to deal with these corporations and to protect their counties from these corporations, because corporations aren't supposed to be operating on the counties as they do. So we need the state assemblies to provide the counties with the authorizing declarations for the public laws, the 3 public laws that the state assemblies just passed. And the notice of liability, the criminal penalties that comes with those public laws for the county sheriffs and the general assemblies to be able to enforce in those counties against those corporations and the corporate citizenry on behalf of injured people. And here's another one to bring forth those public laws. There needs to be a communication with every hospital, corporation to stop issuing birth certificate bonds. And they're issuing them on behalf of the state. That conversation needs to be had and communicated. The state assemblies need to communicate this to these hospital corporations that it is a crime to issue birth certificate bonds. Direct the county corporations to provide public recording services, which we've already discussed. Direct the U.S. military corporations to stop circulating Federal Reserve notes. Anna has already written about that. Federal Reserve notes are supposed to come out of circulation. This is blood money, credit theft. State assemblies need to have that communication with the military on how that transition is going to happen. Of course, everything can't happen just, like in the next 30 days or anything like that. So there needs to be a plan of action being worked on between the state assembly, the American government, and the subcontractors. So how are we going to negotiate that transfer? The negotiation is not about whether you're gonna do it or not. It's just it's about how are we going to do it, so that we can keep it peaceful and prevent civil unrest and uproar. You're going to direct all the government corporations, the federal, state, local, city, village, parish, borough, and the public services corporations, meaning the schools, the libraries, the parks, the government agencies, direct all of them to raise the peace flag and retire Old Glory, and put a billboard or a sign on the walls of the building to correct your political status. How are the state assemblies going to be communicating with the corporations to get these things done? It is the state assemblies that have to do it because they're corporations we're talking to. Going to have to provide them with the criminal notice of liability when they do not follow the public laws that's outlawed, the birth registrations and the credit theft monopoly of Federal Reserve notes. The Continental Marshals are going to be the ones that have to investigate these corporations and their officers when they're violating the public laws. So you're going to get the American people are going to be sending in their complaints of how they're still being harassed. There's a chain of custody. First, when a man or woman is being harassed by the IRS or being harassed by the county sheriff, that man or woman is going to report it to their county sheriff. Now, when the county sheriff gets the complaint, they're going to start their investigation. What they're going to find is corporations are behind this. We already know that, but that's what they're going to find in the evidence. The corporation is using a usufruct in order to enforce their administrative laws on this man or woman. So you're going to find mail fraud, you're going to find racketeering, you're going to find all of this while you're investigating as a county sheriff. So you got to pass that along to who? The Continental Marshal. How exactly that chain goes, I don't know, because I am not in the area of peacekeeping, actually the peacekeeper. But I do know that the entities involved, the corporations, if they have to be investigated, it's on the international scene, and the Continental Marshals are on the international scene. And I do know that the corporation is the one who is violating the rights of the man and woman, or a woman. You have the actual man and woman who's in the office of the county sheriff who's violating them. So they get to handle it either as a man or woman who's violating them or trespassing against them, and they get to handle it as a person in the office of the county sheriff who's violating them. So there is a chain of authority there, which I'm not sure on, but there has to be, though, the state assemblies and the county assemblies involved with dealing with that crime that's going on against the man or woman. While your state assemblies are out there doing your public meetings, you're going to build your database of jurors and militia as you are recording Americans. I'm not sure if many of the state assemblies have organized themselves that much from the beginning when they started publishing and recording American State Nationals papers, but you need to start organizing your database of jurors and your database for militiamen and women. That's where I see the state assemblies executing their part against the corporations and the persons that's involved as we're making this transference of government happen. The county, you're going to direct Americans what they need to do to correct the political status and self-govern. So that's where the 3 brochures and the Declaration of Provenance come in. Now, the Declaration of Provenance is the document where the head of state has declared that Americans need to be left alone, basically. So those 3 brochures and that Declaration of Provenance is what you're going to put in the hands of the American people. The county assemblies. Now, the county assemblies are going to be dealing with the living man or woman, because we know on the soil jurisdiction, that's where the living people are. So the county assembly is going to be dealing with the man or woman on that level of trespasses and all of that. The county assemblies need to also work with their state assembly and direct them on providing them the declaration to bring forth the public laws. And I did think at first that the county assemblies could write the declarations, but I'm thinking that I don't think so. I mean, I know county assemblies can make their own local laws, but this is not creating a law. A law was already passed, and it was passed by your state assembly. You didn't pass it, meaning the county assembly didn't pass it. The state assembly passed these 3 public laws. So I'm thinking now that it would be the state assemblies who would have to bring those 3 public laws forward and make it known of what those 3 public laws are, what the penalties are for violating them, and declaring that they are effective on the land. That's what I'm thinking that the state assembly would have to do, since they are the ones who passed the 3 laws. Yes, Darren?
Yeah, thanks, Louise. I just wanted to support that notion. So my comprehension is that the county assemblies operate in custom and local expectations. So they are underpinned by the law, as would be passed by the state. But yeah, it's all about what the local people want. And custom makes the law. That's a maxim I heard years ago and never quite understood. But yeah,
Thanks,
they
Darren.
wouldn't be passing laws, as such. Are you?
Thank you, Darren. Aaron, Annette?
Thank you. So do we know yet if all of the states have advertised that in a paper or put it on the internet or in some way declared those 3 already? And if so, could they get us copies to validate that we can use to support what we're doing as well?
Your question is, did all the 50 states announce it? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what they did once they passed the public law. Yeah, I don't know. So that's why I'm coming up with these ideas is, did we tell the people that this is the public law? So we're going about the job of telling the people, this is what the public law is. So if they have to announce it in the newspaper, then announce it in the newspaper. If you have to do a declaration, do a declaration. So this is where the county assemblies go to your state assembly and ask them how do we bring the public law forward? Because they passed the public law. So they have the answer to that. And if they don't have the answer to that, then they have to find out what the answer is and ask the fiduciary.
I can do that. Thank you. And then one other question. The budget for the brochures, is that a PKTF budget or is that a county, local or state budget that we have to start planning for?
It's the state county budget you have to start planning for. So in the American Government Resurgence Project, it's the prerogative of the state and the counties if they actually want to do it or not. So PKTF don't have a budget to support 50 states. So it would be per entity, county assembly budget their own, state assembly budget of their own, of what they want to do.
Okay, thank you. So will we need an authorization from yourself to give to like Staples or Vistaprint or whatever that says that we have permission to use these templates?
I don't think so. They shouldn't require you to give anything to them. All you need to know is you have a permission to use it.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it and I yield.
Okay. All right, so the county assemblies do the same thing. They build your database of jurors and militiamen and women as you're recording Americans, build that database. The county sheriffs, of course, do the investigation for the man or woman who's alleging be injured. And you do the direct the Americans what they need to do to correct their political status and organize the missing American towns with those 3 brochures and the Declaration of Provenance. So you do the same thing in that regard on the county assembly. So we have county assemblies who's going out there doing tours, and we have state assemblies that's going out and do tours. Now, ideally, this is what I would recommend, that the state and the county cooperate, whereas the county hosts the public meeting and invite their state assembly to the public meeting, and the county presents the state to the local people. That would be best because, back again to what I'm saying about grassroots, people in you and your community control your community. You don't want some outside people coming to tell you how to control your community. That's why the county or the townspeople should be the ones that introduces you into that space. Again, that would prevent a lot of that, that blowback that you might get, talking about who you, telling us what we're gonna do, that type of thing. So that's how I see it would be most effective for the county and the state assemblies to work together, so that as you all are planning your touring, see, the states is planning the touring all through the state, so they're planning a tour all through the counties. Now, the model counties are spearheading the same thing that the states are doing, that is planning a tour all through the counties. So I would say work together on that so that the county can invite in and host that state assembly. And so you both can present the American government on the county level and on the state level at the same time, so people will see the whole of it, how we are reconstructing our government. Because I'm sure that's going to be a question, because they're going to be trying to compare what they have now to what you're trying to offer them, and they're going to be looking for where the pieces line up and where the pieces don't line up. So if you have the towns, you have the counties, and you get the state all there, they can piece it together more easily and have less of an inclination to dismiss you. So that's how I see the counties and assemblies working together on the ground, while the peacekeepers are doing what they do to the head of the corporations at the same time. Now, I want to make this important note. The peacekeepers, the state assemblies, county assemblies must coordinate their efforts to ensure that this execution of transference of government is successful. That is what we are doing. We are transferring the government's control out of the hands of the subcontractors back into our hands. It has to be systematic. It has to make sense. It has to be smooth as possible so that we don't cause civil unrest. So you need to coordinate, and people need to see that you're working together, not against each other. That's a whole nother thing we got to deal with. They can't see us fighting. But we'll deal with that part too. But as we're going out to deploy this resurgence project, all the entities need to coordinate their efforts. Now, the peacekeepers are going to be in the role of spearheading this coordination. The peacekeepers are spearheading the transference of the government, of the power. The peacekeepers are spearheading that, because you're talking to the corporate heads on the ground in their face. You're spearheading that. And it's your rapport, your effectiveness while you're out there, that's going to be the gauge of how this transference, how smoothly we can make this transference happen. Yes, Annette?
I am so sorry to keep interrupting, but so I don't get into a issue about jurisdiction. When we're doing the county tours, will we require, or should we, I mean, we'll obviously ask, but will we require the state chairman to provide us brochures, or will we request brochures so that we can hand out both? Or is that crossing jurisdiction as we're doing county tours, that we're handing out both our state and our county brochures?
So if when you say state brochures, which ones are the state brochures?
So I don't have a state
Oh,
brochure,
okay.
of course, at this point, because I'm on the county, but would I coordinate with the state with acquiring some of their brochures with their seals and stuff on it, so that, and would that be appropriate? So we're not, I just don't want to cross jurisdiction. I want to stay in my lane. I guess that's the way it's called.
Yeah, so I think it's appropriate to ask them for their brochures if they want to coordinate with the county. And yes, you can deliver it to the American people, because you have to talk about your international state assembly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, you should. I mean, I know the counties are going to be doing the tours as well as the states are. So do them together is what I'm saying. But if you don't do them together, yes, you will need to talk about your state government to the local people. So it'd be good to have their brochures there to say, well, contact your state government with this brochure. You can learn more about them, you know?
Okay, and then one other question. So, as we're all aware, there's not necessarily every county is stood up or even has organizers on all the states. So, would we just plan on doing tours through those counties anyways, hopefully bringing awareness and maybe even being able to acquire or get somebody interested in being an organizer, and would that be appropriate?
Yes, that's what you're going to be doing. If they're not organized yet, your goal is to get them organized.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so, and that is the end of the presentation for today as far as the Peacekeepers execution plan. This presentation was about what we're going to have in our hands, what we're going to say to them, and who are we going to be speaking to. Now, if you think we should be speaking to somebody else, this is your opportunity to say who you think we should add to the list, or what other document, because I think as Annette mentioned some of the other documents that we could also have in hand. Those orders, I think it was from June 14th. I remember vividly because I was just looking at those not too long ago. I can attach it to the replay. Those is 2 or 3 of them regarding the attorneys and all that. Yeah, I know which ones you're talking about. Now the bonds, Emalee, time to talk about the bonds. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been doing county bond audits. Just to any member of the public can do it. You just walk in off the street to make sure that all of the public servants are in compliance with their oath and their bond. Their codes and statutes state that their office is actually vacated. It's a natural operation of law if they don't have an oath to uphold the Constitution for the United States. You've pretty much thought of everything. So I don't know, it would just be an extra layer of protection for people, because you actually sometimes have to accept the oath, but you basically covered that already. I just have experience getting it and how to deal with them. And it's kind of fun actually. But that was all. I think you've pretty much covered plenty of it. So
let's entertain this thought. So we know that we don't want to keep the territorial structure in place. We're thinking about the bonds and knowing that they don't have, a lot of them have vacated their office anyway, which means the territorial corporation doesn't have any officers. Could we use that, or do we want to use that as a leverage to to replace our people there. What do I want to say? How to convert them into Americans and have them do, I got a bug right there, to have them take on the American responsibility of running that office. Not the office as a British terror subject. I mean, the building, running the building, because we want our buildings back.
Yeah, I would like to give them the opportunity, and that's where I've been working is the infrastructure. We're about to make a pretty massive portfolio from General Services Administration. So, you know, I would like to give them the chance. They, you know, they mostly don't know. So when given the opportunity, they should, you know, be given the opportunity to choose and to perform, I believe.
Mhm.
Because
I
those
would
aren't our
think that-
those aren't our codes. They need to be protected too, you know, more
Mhm.
so than us sometimes. So I think it just depends how receptive they are to everything that's said. I find most county employees to be very receptive at the courthouse. And if they're already, you know, if they're already in the industry, I think it's a good thing. It could be an asset to us if they, you know,
Mhm.
can stick around and combine what we know with what they know, and just keep everything, you know, running,
Mhm,
just
mhm.
changing all the structure. And you're so thorough. Your strategy is like impeccable. I love it. Thank you.
I think we should entertain that, Emalee. The Peacekeepers, while you are listening to me here, entertain how the transition can happen with them declaring themselves an American, because they got to do that. And if they declare themselves an American, how do we get them to operate in upholding the Constitution while they recognize they're employed by the federalized system? Because that's basically what they'll be doing as this transition is happening. Just like I said with the county recorders, we're requiring them to have a database where the Americans can record their land assets, not the title system. So all these British territorial subjects and officers, employees, have to operate on both sides to do their job in those buildings. Let's entertain how we can make that happen and make it make sense to them while we're talking to them.
The simplest way I have found so far is just to tell them that their vessels literally need to be reflagged in dry dock. And I know that that doesn't make sense to them, but I mean, that's when I'm out there, when we're talking about it, first I just tell them, ask Google, what does the American civilian peace flag look like? And then once they get over the initial, because when Google says it, of course it's true, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Just
true.
can't even believe what an amazing tool that is. I spent a long time just asking Google the question, because eventually if you keep asking, it will start using your answer for you.
Well, that's a strategy. Emalee just said, just while you're in their face, say Google, show us the American peace flag. And hey, that's a strategy you can use while you're talking to them.
You know, and I actually found a copy of the Scarlet Letter before they took that the first chapter out of the customs house. But it, you know, just silly things like that, but they work. And they're, you know, it's fun hanging out with real people who, you know, they're in more danger than we are, falling into this giant pool of risk. Because as this starts going, you know, not that I wouldn't like to recoup some of our losses, but it's going to get a little messy. So I would rather have people who are willing and able to help facilitate that than, you know, confused, you know, misguided people. So, and I have, you know, I haven't measured my results properly. I started getting into the infrastructure aspect of it, and all of the facilities that we can take over that are empty. Newsom in California just used our disaster funds to purchase a Kirkbride facility, which is they make mental institutions and things of that nature. And he bought the contract, and they're going to put greener living over top of it. But these facilities are all over the country, and they're empty, and GSA is trying to just drop them off of their inventory. Like they didn't sell them off to the highest bidder. So I would like to take some of that. We're working on timber and facilities for infrastructure, so that's gonna be
Mhm,
kind of fun. Because there's a lot of homeless people like everywhere,
mhm.
and we're gonna
That
need
would be what the
facilities.
state assemblies would, because if you have to buy anything or purchase anything, it would be in the state assembly, that would have to do it in International Business Assembly.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
so far we're doing private capital at the moment, so we're not ready to bring any of that, but it, when we acquisition it with private capital, it still belongs to the people. It's not going anywhere. And the different methods that the tribes are finally starting to wake up and use in their infrastructure, so.
Well, state assemblies don't, what I want to say, limit yourself in the ideas that you can implement or think of and how to get this transition to happen. Yeah, I mean, if you know, because I know there were some assemblies talking about acquiring some empty buildings, like you're talking about, Emalee, for jails or things like that. But yeah, any way that you can think of to make the transition smoother. And I like the thought that's coming up now as far as those people that are in the offices are actually Americans. So how do we get them to act in both with their feet in both sides? Do the land recording, do the title system. We're going to eventually transition out of the title system, but for right now, you
I
got to do
believe
both of them.
that's Jesus's job. Actually, he hangs there so that we can transcend, but that's a different story altogether.
Okay, so
Thank you, dear.
go ahead. What you say, Darren? Okay.
It
All right,
wasn't
so
me. Louise.
oh, okay. So we got our launch dates for July 1st for the phase 1A, 1 and 2. That's the county assemblies and state assemblies getting out, boots on the ground, starting the county tours or the international public notices. And then the phase 3. I'm not sure when we're going to actually do that officially, but I know Peacekeepers. I know Andrew and Adam. I don't know if they're here today. Andrew, Adam, are you all here today? They have a Peacekeepers Association that they developed and trying to bring all the peacekeepers together. I guess they're not here today. I wanted them to speak a little bit about it. They sent me their first video of interviews that they did with each other. But when I get that information, I'll send it out to you all so y'all can take a look at what they're developing, bringing all the county sheriffs and peacekeepers together. And on that note, I wanted Emalee to talk about this international organization collaboration that she mentioned to me today, because we talked last meeting with the peacekeepers about them coordinating, collaborating with the CSPOA and different organizations like that to get this job done of this transitioning happening. Emalee, you had some other people who was interested in helping with this transition.
So my team of mentors that I've been amassing in every industry, there are judges from the International Court of Justice that are that want to support what we're doing. The World Fund for Development and Planning to do infrastructure projects here. It's also the UN is the UN and whatever entities are out there, but there's real people in all corporations, and so. It's really being an American state national or whatever. It's really a state of mind. And so any entity that wants to get on board and help us build, as an individual or as a family unit, because that's really the unit of value that we use to start, turning some of this debt financing into credit financing. Because we are the only ones who can create money. So if we can create money, let's create some money. It doesn't need to stay in the hands of the corporations. And so as far as, I mean, the people that I've been working with, they do a lot of projects, you know, in places where they don't actually have real infrastructure, you know, roads and towns and things of that nature. But they're all from the States. They just ended up leaving because they couldn't do very good business here as far
Mm,
as being free and, you know, because most people just want to sleep through it. So they, you know, they're all awesome. I've learned so much about banking, about not banking, about, you know, because it's just a part of it to learn, you know, that we're not free, but moving forward to build the kind of infrastructure we're going to need, it's already there. We just literally have to take it. And if we stop creating money for them, then we can be creating value for us.
mhm, mhm. How is it that they want, now, are they individual people who want to help, or the organization, they have organizations that want to help?
There's various
Mm.
various private individuals from different entities in different countries, but mostly they're, you know, they're venture capitalists. They're all money people.
Oh,
And the framework that they've developed is not, it's not a Federal Reserve banking system. It's infinite value. It's a non-depletion framework
mhm,
that's based on N squared energy, which is, you know, two people in harmony produce
mhm,
4 times the energy.
mhm,
It's, you know, metaphysical
mhm.
basically. But when you apply all of these different concepts together, what you basically get is life force value that you can actually use during your lifetime. And for your own protection, it puts the transmitting utility outside of the family unit
Mhm, mhm.
so that you can interact in commerce. And it's pretty much foolproof. It allows the de facto still to run how they're running, but their resources will slowly deplete because they're not providing any actual value.
Mhm.
And so we're kind of the mind that it will begin to become a natural function of law that these de facto corporations start dissolving. Because if we take all of our value out of it and we stop breathing life into the fiction, it goes away.
Right.
It just, as soon as you stop participating, you unpledge your allegiance and pledge it to the peace flag or whatever your covenant with being at peace is, then all the value is removed and it's no longer profitable for them to continue. They're going to have to stop and figure out a new job,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
because they are governmental service providers. And just because they've done away and monopolized everything, there are people out there that will provide good governmental service. You know,
And that's
we
another
need good
thing.
administrators. Like we, more than anything, we need administrators and, you know, people that will execute on these things so that the visionaries can stay where they're at doing, you know, what they do.
That's another thing I like to entertain, and that is government service providers. We need replacements. So our state assemblies would be the ones who would be in our international business assemblies, be talking about finding new government service providers. So maybe, Emalee, we could talk more about that offline, and how we could get the information to the state assemblies on referral lists or whatever you have of people who would like to provide either the funds, or they
Well,
have the business themselves, or
I'll
however
be
it is.
providing the funds, but most they don't deal with intermediaries. They'll
Mhm,
deal with individuals, they'll deal with corporations, they'll deal with anybody, you know,
mhm.
that has a great infrastructure project in mind in any industry. However, the state assemblies, I think we've kind of determined that we're not willing to work with state assemblies that haven't populated their counties.
Okay. Mhm. Well,
They'll work with the county assembly, they'll work with a jural assembly, they'll work, you know, they'll pretty much, I will be funding just about any project if it has a good business plan and a good structure and it's beneficial,
mhm,
just to get everybody up and running.
mhm,
But yeah, we'll have to get populated in the counties before the states can be funded for anything. So,
mhm, mhm. Okay.
which should motivate everyone, you know, like I will
Mhm.
be coming out with some formal, you know, offers and things of that nature. I'm just trying to get all the groundwork laid and infrastructure in place. What I could really use is a good strategist.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, let's talk some more offline, okay?
all right, my dear, thank you so much.
All right. So, and I know we're winding down. I got you over time about 15 minutes. So let me take Annette's question. We'll wind it up.
That's okay. I was absolutely intrigued with Emily's discussion. It actually excited me. Incredible, Emalee. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I found out yesterday by meeting with a banker. She said she was banker, but I went into depth with conversation with her, and it turns out she's actually with the PMAs of a bunch of credit unions. And we were ended up in a conversation about the ISO 222. And let me address the Basel IV first. So the Basel IV is their deposits matched with assets. And she said that her team had to do 1,800 facilities inside of a weekend so that Monday morning they were ready to open. So we know that that is moving forward. However, I did find out some pretty cool stuff about the ISO 222, which was supposed to be coming online July the 14th. Turns out it's delayed because the Fed is not ready and we don't have another date for that, which is pretty shocking. I did have a conversation with Sheriff Mack, and he did confirm, and it is online, anyone can look at it, that he did confirm that they are excited about helping the Peacekeeping Task Force with the Resurgence Project. And they have a big thing coming on to Florida on July the 27th to the 30th. And I did hear a rumor that Adam Boyd will be joining them there. So I just wanted to share that with you. I know you had asked me to reach out and ask.
Thank you, Annette.
You're
Yes.
very welcome. Very
Boy-
exciting stuff.
Boyd does have something scheduled. I don't have the details on it. I don't think Boyd is here today either. Of what he's got going on. He's got a meeting to speak somewhere. Okay, so our next meeting for the Peacekeepers is going to be on the 27th of July, July 13th though. Regular scheduled strategy task force session is going to be for the model counties and international assemblies. We will be launched by July 13th. So we will go over more details of how we're going to keep track of our progress and how we're going to make it as effective as possible and how we're going to pivot as needed as we're doing this. Any other questions or comments before we go for tonight? All right, everybody, I will send out the replay either later today or tomorrow and all the attachments as well. You all have a good evening, okay?
Thank you so much. And you too.
All right, then.
Everybody have a great night.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night. Thanks, Louise.
You're welcome.